I call Simon O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, very pleased to take a call on this Smoke-Free Environments Tobacco Standardised Packaging Amendment Bill. I want to just actually acknowledge the two speakers, and particularly the Minister who's spoken, but we've effectively just had an issue raised that we're behind the Australians and that we should be the first movers. So I thought I might just attempt to impart a little axiom that might help. It's quite true that the early bird catches the worm, but it's actually the second mouse that gets the cheese. So I think in this case we're in a good space. So can I begin by acknowledging the Minister and for the work that he's led to bring this to the House, I think in a timely manner, but also very quickly. We've moved through a very good and thorough select committee process. And so in thanking the Minister, can I thank also all the members of the Select Committee, not only for their support of this bill, but actually the process as a whole. As I often try to do as well, to thank the officials and advisors who have played their part. But I want to also echo Sam Lotawinga's thanks to those who are working out there in the sector day after day to reduce smoking in New Zealand. We have a real and excellent goal in making New Zealand smoke-free by 2025. We in this House have a small part to play in this legislative approach, but it's actually the hundreds, if not thousands, of Kiwis who are working every day in our hospitals, GP clinics, health outreach, Quitline, who are doing an amazing job. And I want to thank too the various, I suppose, public health lobbyists. I'm not going to name all of them. There's a good number who have emailed, phoned, tweeted and the like to me. Want to thank them for their advocacy as well. Look, this is an important piece of legislation, Mr Speaker. This is a legislation which stands beside a whole raft of dynamic approaches the government has taken. We had some in urgency earlier this year as well around the budget. Changes there once again targeting smoking. And I think it's important. I was going to say smokers, but actually this is not targeted at people per se. It's targeted at the action of smoking. And so one of the first and important elements, and it's come out from both speakers so far, is the whole semantic change between talking about plain packaging to standardised packaging. And fortunately the Minister's been very kind to give me what is a rather dramatic example. Fortunately it's not this big, although if we made all packs this big we might actually see a bit of reduction as well. Look, importantly this is about standardised packaging. We initially had it around plain. It's very clear from those certainly who can see this visually, this is not a plain pack. Really importantly that like current cigarette sales, there are very graphic warnings that are going to be there so people can understand the consequences of what they're doing. What makes it standard though is basically the text and the format to try and ultimately take away from any attraction that can be associated with the difference of brands. And I certainly know talking, and particularly to young people, but it's not exclusively to them, it can be sort of a play-off between different brands. Well, I'm smoking this versus that. We want to take the glamour away. And we also are very conscious that there's still a battle to go. The figures overall are very good, and I've said it in early speeches, the overall numbers of smoking decline are excellent, but when you de-aggregate, there are some sectors in society that we still have to keep working with, and I want to stress that, not working at, but working with, and I just want to again acknowledge the work that the Ministers lead in that space right across our various age and ethnic groups there. Look, also want to just talk very briefly around what is sometimes called a wash-through period. This is a transition period. Once this bill comes into force, the regulations are in play. Obviously, this product is still out on the shelves, and so importantly, I think 6 weeks is the period. Well, it's a 12-week wash-through period. In other words, from when this becomes a law and in play, there's going to be a total of 12 weeks to get the old stock off the shelves. It's not going to happen overnight. Distributors have about 6 weeks to get their product out into the stores. They've got that 6-week period, and then 6 weeks after that, the actual supplier, so dairy owners, service stations and the like, have 6 weeks to clear the shelves. It was something that we've thought about, discussed. I think it's actually a very prudent model. We still respect to a degree that people's choices in this space and the need for businesses to, prudently de-stock, but we are looking forward to having this, in place soon. So look, Mr Speaker, I would just very pleased to commend this bill and the Minister's work to the House.
I call Ian Lees Galloway.
We've finally got here to the third reading of